Chairman Bruce Bugg, the Office of Senator Donna Campbell, Alamo Area MPO Chairman and Comal County Commissioner Kevin Webb, Williams Brothers Construction, who is going to build this project for us. Bexar County Commissioner Marilyn Barnard, and FHWA was able to join us today, so thank you, Justin Ham. One year ago, we were all here to celebrate the start of construction on the transformative Loop 1604 North Expansion project. Now it feels like that was just yesterday. We were just here celebrating that great moment. But I must say, I am very excited and I'm extremely proud of the progress that we have seen on this project over this past year. So thank you, Williams Brothers. Williams Brothers has just been moving and executing this project like no other. Well, we have started construction on not just one, but two segments of the 23-mile project, which will bring much needed mobility and safety improvements to the highly traveled Loop 1604 corridor that you see next to us today. Now, I'm going to give you a number, 150,000. Over 150,000 travelers, these drivers travel along 1604 every single day. That number is going to keep growing. In fact, by 2045, the number of drivers on Loop 1604 is projected to double. This is why the Loop 1604 North Expansion project is a critical project. It's designed to meet the traffic demand along the corridor now and in the future. Today, we are breaking ground on segment 2 of this multi-phase project, with improvements to Loop 1604 and the I-10 interchange. Now, this is an over $400 million investment, which is going to bring more mobility, less congestion for the area drivers. Segment 2 is going to have improvements that are going to create connectivity, enhance safety, with the construction of an innovative and multi-level interchange on IH-10. It's also going to increase mobility with the expansion of Loop 1604 from 4 lanes to 10 lanes across, including an HOV lane in each direction. With all of these improvements, drivers along Loop 1604 are going to see their travel times reduced by as much as 75%. But we would not be here today without the support of the community, our stakeholders, and all of our partners. From the beginning of this effort, your input and your engagement has been critical in the development of the project that will bring real impact to the Loop 1604 corridor. So with that, I am excited that this day is here and we get to celebrate the start of another segment of this very important project. So thank you for being with us today. So first, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Governor Greg Abbott. As the 48th governor of Texas, he continues to build on his record as a strong leader who fights to preserve Texas values and to ensure that the Lone Star State remains the best place to raise a family, build a business, and create greater opportunity for all. Please join me in welcoming the governor of our great state of Texas, Greg Abbott.
Well, I want to thank Gina for the great work that she does, for her leadership in this effort, as well as for her kind of introduction. And also want to thank Bruce Bugg, who will be speaking shortly, for his tremendous leadership at the Texas Department of Transportation. Let's start just by providing the setting. Texas truly is the land of opportunity that people are clamoring to get to. Texas has led the nation for population growth for an entire decade now. Texas ranks #1 in the United States for the most new jobs. This year, Texas became home to more Fortune 500 companies than any other state in the United States of America. And Texas ranks #1 with the fastest growing economy in the entire country. And in context, if Texas were its own country, we would have the 9th largest economy in the entire world. All this means that there's going to be more people on our roads, whether it be in San Antonio or elsewhere in the state of Texas. And I've seen the growth of traffic on 1604. Early on in my relationship with my wife, who is from San Antonio, I drove 1604 when literally we were the only vehicle on 1604 at the time that we were driving. And I was thinking, who built this and why? Because no one is ever going to be using this road ever. Showed how wrong I was. Now, like some people, I get stuck in traffic on 1604. And so I'm very proud to see what TxDOT is doing to make sure that they are widening this, expanding this, and providing what is needed to relieve the congestion that so many people in this area go through on 1604. Well, the good news is because Texas has the #1 economy in the United States, and because we planned ahead by dedicating money for infrastructure, we now have a record $85 billion dedicated to eliminating congestion and building roads. That will pay for construction projects all across Texas, just like what we're going to see on 1604, that will reduce traffic congestion. In Austin, we're adding lanes to I-35 and fixing the Y intersection at Oak Hill. In Dallas, we are improving I-30 and 635. In Houston, we are updating I-69 and 610. And those are just some of the many examples of expanded growth in our roadways that TxDOT is providing to a location very near you. The leader of this effort is someone that I charged with this responsibility years ago, and that is Bruce Bugg. When he took over as chairman, I told him that he had one goal, and that was to identify and to eliminate congestion choke points. And he has aggressively tackled that challenge and created a statewide program to accomplish that goal. And already during my tenure, most of it under the leadership of Bruce Bugg, we have completed more than 6,000 road construction projects, adding thousands of more miles of roads for the drivers of Texas. His work improves transportation for freight, and that's important because Texas ranks #1 for exports, and the transportation of that freight will help us continue to rank #1 for exports. What it will also do is to attract more economic development, improve safety on roads, as well as to improve the daily lives of our fellow Texans. So I want to once again thank both Gina and Bruce Bugg for their leadership in making sure we got to this day for 1604, but also that we are working every single day to build more roads for the people of Texas. To commemorate this day, I brought with me a proclamation from the governor of Texas. I know him. And it recognizes the Texas Department of Transportation on this occasion of the groundbreaking ceremony of Loop 1604 North Expansion. And Bruce, I'm going to give this to you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Texas Transportation Commission Chairman Bruce Bugg. A prominent businessman and philanthropist, Chairman Bugg has served on the Texas Transportation Commission since 2015 and as chairman since 2017. Thanks to our chairman and the commission, the Loop 1604 North Expansion has been identified as a Texas Clear Lanes project. We greatly appreciate the chairman's leadership in bringing this project to fruition. Chairman Bug.
Thank you, Gina. As many of you know, and Governor, I want you to know, I call Gina Can-Do Gina. She's our district engineer for the San Antonio district. As she said, we kicked this thing off about a year ago, and you can see we are turning dirt, Governor. Governor Abbott gave me one directive when he appointed me chairman, and he said, Bruce, just turn dirt. Well, Governor, that dirt is flying out there, and you can see it in live action. So thank you for being here today. It is really an honor to have you join us today, Governor Abbott. Thank you. With all the things you have going on in your schedule, thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. It's a real honor. Thank you. And I also just want to say that Governor Abbott and I have a long-time relationship. It's based on trust and confidence in each other, and it is an honor, and feel very privileged that you have appointed me as chairman of the Texas Department of Transportation. So thank you, Governor, for allowing me to serve you and the people of the state of Texas. Thank you. I couldn't be doing what I do without Governor Abbott doing what he does. So thank you again. Well, I just am glad that we're all together to kind of kick off this $418 million project. Governor Abbott made reference to the statewide program that we are focused on relieving congestion in the 5 major metropolitan areas, and of course San Antonio is one of those 5, the other being Fort Worth, Dallas, Houston, and Austin. But this project that we're going to have a groundbreaking on is one of many projects that we have going on throughout the entire state of Texas. Not only the Clear Lanes projects, which Governor Abbott, when you called on us, and the only time that you've ever publicly called on us to do anything directly, but Governor Abbott called on us in September of 2015 to come up with a plan to take the 100 most congested choke points throughout the state of Texas and go in and develop a plan and get rid of those congested choke points for the benefit of all the Texans that drive on that. So, Governor, now a few years later, we now have over $61 billion of Texas Clear Lanes projects that have either been completed, they're under construction, or they are planned. So, Governor, we took your words, we acted on those words, and those are the results. But it's not just that. It's because of what Governor Abbott mentioned, and that is the population of the state of Texas, for all the reasons that Governor Abbott enumerated. The population of the state of Texas is just exploding. And when you are in a policy-making role for transportation, the number one thing, Governor, that we look at is the population. And with the population today, you know, the U.S. Census says the population of the state of Texas is 29 million Texans. I think it's a little higher than that. I bet you do too. But the state demographer has said that by 2050, and so that's just it's hard to believe, 28 years from now, we're going to grow by 62% and be at 47 million Texans. So 29 million Texans today on the road to 47 million Texans. And I've seen some studies, and you have too, where the population is projected to be even higher than that. So that has a profound effect on our planning for transportation, because we can't just focus on things for today. We have to look down the road, because these planning projects, as everyone knows, Gina and all the wonderful folks at TxDOT. And by the way, I want to take a minute. I'm looking out here, and I want to thank all of the men and women that work for TxDOT. We have a number of TxDOT employees with us today, but Governor, we have over 12,500 TxDOT employees statewide. And we can't do what we do without the dedication of the men and women of TxDOT. So thank you. So I mentioned that Texas is growing fast, and it's the #1 growing state in the entire United States. so fast that it's kind of boggles my mind that in the last decade, Governor, we have grown by over 4 million Texans, and that comprises the entire population of the state of Oklahoma. And we just added that in the last 10 years. So we are on it. We are kicking it for all the right reasons that Governor Abbott enumerated, and that's why we're laser focused on taking the precious taxpayer dollars that we have and building these projects, as I said, not only for the needs of Texans today, but we are laser focused on what the future is looking like and what we need to do to meet the demands of not only today, but the future. Now, we can't do what we do, Governor, at Texas Department of Transportation without one thing, and that is funding. And Governor Abbott has led, when Governor Abbott was elected in November of 2014, one of the key things that he put on the ballot, so he was running in November of 2014 on one thing, and that was transportation. And Governor, I know you remember, I remember very well, that Governor Abbott had a photo taken of himself, actually a film, and it was on Lois Stemmons in Dallas. And he said, you know, if a guy in a wheelchair can go faster than traffic of the state of Texas, we need to fix the traffic in the state of Texas. Well, by golly, that's what we've done. You ran on the November 2014 by saying transportation needs additional funding. Proposition 1, thanks to you, passed by 80% of Texas voters voted in favor of Proposition 1, which is a way of taking some of oil and gas taxes and dedicating them constitutionally for more funding for transportation. But Governor Abbott was not finished. You came back, and in November of 2015, Governor Abbott championed Proposition 7, another constitutionally dedicated source of funding, part of the sales tax. That passed by 83% of Texans. Those two, Governor Abbott, I want you to know, those two sources alone now account for over 40% of our total funding for transportation projects in the state of Texas. And think what it would be if you hadn't championed those two initiatives that account for 40% of our funding. So, and by the way, speaking of funding, you mentioned our $85 billion historic UTP plan, but we also have an additional source of funding, thanks to you on this Proposition 1 and 7, where our 10-year plan actually is a total of $117 billion for over 7,000 projects. This is all possible because of leadership from Governor Greg Abbott that championed the need for the funding, and that's why we're about to celebrate the groundbreaking today of this 1604. So I just want to say, Governor, when you did appoint me as chairman, first day, day one, I assembled all the senior staff at TxDOT headquarters in Austin, and I said, Governor Abbott gave me a very short two-word directive, and that is turn dirt. And I'm going to turn it into a three-word directive: execute, execute, execute. And Governor, everyone at TxDOT now knows that my policy as chairman from day one is execute, execute, execute. And again, this is evidence that we're going to see today of just that. So I've taken your policy to heart, and I've kind of turned it into what everyone else can look at. But I just want to kind of close by saying that this project that we're looking at, Gina alluded to it, and Governor Abbott really nailed it when he was in his dating life, coming down and seeing now First Lady Cecilia Abbott. And when he said, you know, why would someone build this massive two-lane road in each direction? And at that time, there were about 1,500 cars a day that drove on 1604. Today, Governor, that has increased to over 150,000 cars a day. And we have calculated that by 2045, we believe there are going to be over 290,000 cars on 1604 every day. So what we're going to celebrate here is taking the 2 lanes that you first saw back in the day, and we're going to expand that to 5 lanes in each direction. We're going to go all the way from State Highway 16 on the way to Bandera over to our west, and we're going to go all the way to I-35, and we're going to take that 23-mile stretch, and we're going to build 5 lanes in each direction. And so from the 2 lanes in each direction, and I can assure you it is a parking lot most times of the day, we're going to turn that into congestion relief. And this will be a Texas Clear Lanes project. And Governor, as you know, all Texas Clear Lanes projects, that whole $61 billion that I referenced, these are all non-tolled roads. And we can only build non-toll roads, again, with the funding sources. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being with us in San Antonio today. Thank you for what you do throughout the state of Texas. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. I think we'll go ahead and let's turn a little dirt and get this project underway. Thank you.
Thank you again for your attendance here today. I'd just like to thank one more time Governor Abbott and Chairman Bugg for their strong leadership, and for both of them to be here today in one place is such an honor for us here in San Antonio. So thank you both. I'd also like to very quickly just recognize the TxDOT team who's going to oversee the construction. We have Carlos Arcilla, the area engineer, and Danny Gallegos, who will be overseeing this project with their area office with the assistance of CPNY. And because they are overseeing it, I know the project's going to be in good hands. And of course, a special thanks to our contractor who is going to make it all happen for us, Williams Brothers Construction. So as we close today's ceremony, I just encourage everyone to stay in the loop of all of our construction activity. We have a project website, that's loop1604north.com. And now we are ready to get started. So let's finish this. Let's bring more mobility, less congestion to drivers on Loop 1604. And I'd like to go ahead and have Governor Abbott and Chairman Bruce Bugg go ahead and let's walk on over to the shovels and break some ground.